Remember the start of the Dan Lanning era at Georgia, neutral site in Atlanta against Georgia.
I was there. I promise you, there was nothing neutral about that site.
I very much know. But it also wasn't at Georgia. It wasn't between the hedges. But, in Atlanta against Georgia to launch the Dan Lanning era. And I remember everybody being very excited about the running back room and all the returning guys for Oregon and how excited everybody was. And then it was Bucky Irving and Noah Whittingham, and nobody knew who they were. You probably had a little more insight, but I think as fans, we're like, wait, who are these guys? Transferred from where? Doing what?
By the way, the drive from Athens to Atlanta is about the same as the drive from here to the coast.
Not even to Eugene.
Hour 42 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and just think of like a lot of the folks that go to Athens on game day, they don't live there.
Oh, no. Absolutely. No, they drive from Atlanta. Yeah. They're like, cool, I don't have to make the hour and 42 minutes drive. But I just remember being surprised where Dan Lanning came out. It wasn't what you expected. I think a lot of us were expecting Dante Moore to be the incumbent. Starting to hear some rumors that maybe there's a possibility that the freshman comes in and plays some quarterback. Are you hearing anything about that?
This year? Look, there is no spots are given out. And, like, this is one of the things that, like, Pete Carroll always used to have compete, yep. Right? And there was no secret that there were guys that were protected in that. And at Oregon, obviously, guys like Bryce Betcher and Mateo Uiagalelei, Tatum Tuioti, Pancho Laulu, those guys are gonna get they're gonna get their snaps, and a lot of them. But everything else, there is competition. And look, from when you go from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, we talked about this yesterday, how Dylan Gabriel was that perfect kind of bridge quarterback. That quarterback room, man, is Dante Moore looked really damn good in the spring, and he looked great in the spring game. And he has taken ownership and leadership of that quarterback room. But there's differing styles in that room where you have Dante Moore, who is more athletic, and he does have starting experience at the FBS level. However you want to view how that win at UCLA, look at the team around him.
Yep.
Austin Novosad, though, was a guy that he was recruited by Will Stein out of high school. He's from Dripping Springs, Texas. And Will Stein, when he was at Texas San Antonio, was recruiting Austin Novosad. Stein gets a job up at Oregon when Kenny Dillingham goes to Arizona State. And he was like, we don't got a quarterback this year. I got a guy.
Yeah.
And Novosad comes in, and he is like the prototype quarterback.
Okay.
Right?
So what, 6'3", 220. Dante Moore is what, 5'11"?
I think Dante's taller than that.
Okay.
I think he's a little bit taller than that.
Okay.
But
they're both taller than Dylan Gabriel.
Yes. But he is more of the presence pocket quarterback, and he is wickedly smart, mechanically looks very sound. But we just haven't seen very much of him. We saw both of them sparingly last year. And when you see that Dante Moore was the guy who was always standing behind Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel was grooming him, and we've heard, they were roommates on the road and all that stuff. It was this and what's crazy about it is that that's what everybody thought Dylan Gabriel was going to be at Oklahoma, was grooming the next great Oklahoma quarterback. And it didn't work out well for Oklahoma, but Dylan Gabriel bought into that role at Oregon, and Dante Moore bought into what Dylan Gabriel was teaching him throughout all of last year. But Novosad has got a skill set that is ridiculous. If anybody watched a spring game, Luke Moga, who was the true freshman last year out of Arizona, his speed and his burst to get to the corner and create big runs and create extra time in the pocket, he is an electrifying quarterback.
Yeah.
Achilles Smith Jr. comes in, an early enrollee, and a familiar name, and that dude does not look like he was in high school this past year. He looks like a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
But you have those three guys, or four guys specifically.
Real quick, I checked. ESPN has Dante Moore at 6'3" as well.
6'3"?
So he's quite a bit taller than I thought.
Now, I don't know if he's that tall.
Well,
but
hey,
he is.
This is why
truth
I
is
say
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere between there. Okay. Yeah.
But you've got varying styles of quarterbacks, and at different years. So
Yeah.
you have 4 guys that are there that you sit there and you say, all right, let's see where the dust settles. I don't think it'll be Akili Smith Jr. this year because you've got so much ground to make up. There is so much validity to the more you see as a quarterback and you grow,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
That
the game
maturity.
slows down. The game slows down. Live bullets make a big difference being out there and just getting the reps. And that's really what the Oregon quarterback room has had for the last couple of years. You have Bo Nix, who has more starts than anybody in college football history. Then he's eclipsed by Dylan Gabriel the next year. So especially with those COVID years, you've gotten really used to guys having seen just about everything college football has to offer from a defensive look standpoint, and now you're going into something where Dante Moore has some experience, nobody else has any, so it's back to that.
And
let's see what we have for talent.
A mastery of the system.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you were to look at it on the surface, you go, yes, Dante Moore appears to be the guy, but would I be completely stunned if Austin Nova sat as a starter week 1? No.
Yeah.
But that's not that anybody's told me anything about that.
Yeah.
It's just we got to see how camp goes and what that looks like. I mean, this is the thing. Bo Nix was brought into Oregon to be the starter. Dylan Gabriel was brought in to be the starter. Dante Moore was brought in to be this year's starter. And so I think that's where people kind of see that, where he was a commit to Oregon. He flips and he goes to UCLA. He plays for a year, comes back in redshirts, and he redshirted so he could master the system, learn from Gabriel, and have a running start heading into this year.
So he's as a sophomore, he has potential to be there for 3 years as the starter. That's not something we've seen for a long time, where you have that much runway for a starting quarterback. So could be great.
Yeah, I think that anybody trying to make it a quarterback controversy, I don't think there's a controversy about it. I think they're just trying to figure out who's going to be the best to run this offense, because also this offense is going to look so different than it has in different iterations under Dan Lanning's stewardship. You have Kenny Dillingham and Will Stein. You had a coordinator change from year 1 to Bo Nix to year 2 with Bo Nix. You have a brand new quarterback in Dylan Gabriel in Stein's second year. So you have 2 different systems. In the 3 seasons he's been the head coach, and you've had quarterbacks learning a new system every time. I think that is a really big advantage, right?
Yeah.
And also with those system changes, you had receiver rooms that were more established than they are right now. That's not to say that they don't have good receivers this year, because I think DeCorey Moore is going to be really damn good.
Yep.
He's got that it factor, and he is special. We've seen guys like Justice Lowe last year played a really big role for Oregon, especially when Tez Johnson got hurt last year. Gary Bryant Jr. appears to be healthy. Kyler Casper, who he is a big body outside target, and he had gotten run last year. Malik Benson, the Florida State transfer, comes in, who Bama, Florida State, now Oregon, looking to pop. Jeremiah McClellan, who was a highly touted recruit last year, he's got a year to grow and learn the system. It's not that they don't have athletic guys in there, but it's not Trayshawn Holden, Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, especially last year, and Terrence Ferguson too. Like T-Ferg was an animal out there. The receiver room is different, and that may change how you look at, all right, which quarterback is the one that fits us best, right? If you have a running back room that's loaded and a receiver room that needs a little bit to prove, I don't know if they are dead set on who it's going to be. I think it's going to be Dante Moore. I think we all think it's going to be Dante Moore.
Okay.
But fall camp starts, next week? We're going to find out a whole heck of a lot more then.